Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for part two, a discussion regarding hospital employment versus private practice. Dr. Jim Bean from uh, Baptist Central Neurosurgery in Lexington, Kentucky, provided us with part one regarding advantages and disadvantages of hospital employment. Part two, that will follow shortly, will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a small to medium-sized private practice by Dr. Rich Wohns, a JD, MD, MBA from South Sound Neurosurgery in Washington. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you for your excellent presentation. What I'll do is I'll summarize a few of the points that you spoke of so eloquently, and then I'll move on into my presentation. So why are we here today? It's because employment is a growing trend. Merritt Hawkins a few years ago showed that more than 50% of graduating residents and fellows are going into employment positions, and I just read the latest statistic. It's now up to 65%. So it's very important for our younger colleagues to really understand this and look at all the options available to them very carefully, and more than half are going into the hospital employment arena. I'm remaining in a solo or a small group sort of setting. We have 4 doctors. I feel like it's almost a solo practice because I run it like a solo practice even though I have a small group. It would be very different if we became hospital employees. As you mentioned, you have colleagues, you have hospital administration. We make most of our decisions same day and get action on it same day. And as business manager of my practice, with my business background, I make decisions every day, all the time, act on it immediately, and don't have a bureaucracy to deal with. So the reason that we're doing okay and remaining in a small group practice, despite the financial pressures, despite the increased overhead, despite the diminishing reimbursement, is because of our ancillary income stream. So I think that in this day and age, the only way that a small group practice or a solo practice would be viable for a young graduate of a residency or a fellowship is in a state that has CON that allows for development of ancillaries. If it's a non-CON state, that's not an issue. So you have to look across the country as a young guy coming out and say, if you want to be in a private practice, is it CON or non-CON? If it's CON, is it a difficult environment, or is it something that's doable? For instance, in Michigan, it's very, very difficult. Connecticut, very difficult to do anything entrepreneurial and create ancillary income streams with surgery centers and other ancillary forms of revenue. Other states where there aren't such regulations, it's easier, but you still have the question of how to fund these things, and you have to be full of animal spirits of an entrepreneur in order to stomach this in this day and age, because you're signing debt instruments. You may be having to put your own equity in, and it's not just like signing a contract and getting a guaranteed salary with bonus when you're a hospital employee. I like that. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've started companies. I look at my business in neurosurgery. As Jim knows very well, we've had presentations on the concept that it's no longer just a practice. It has to be considered a business. You have to think of it as a business from day one, manage it as a business from day one. It's no longer just hanging up your shingle and being available, able, and affable and setting up a successful practice. It's a business. So moving on, I feel like a dinosaur, and it's not bad to be a dinosaur, so you don't, as long as you don't walk into the La Brea tar pits and sink and become extinct. So I think it's still a viable way of practicing. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit and state that I think we're seeing a pendulum swing towards hospital employment that I personally believe is a non-sustainable economic model. And I think Again, personal